I know in Hatch, generally we see a lot of startups and techie companies. They know the word, the cloud. So when a startup start a business, they have a set of IT requirements. So they will start with the cloud. And when they are getting into certain applications, they will start thinking, where should I put my computing? Where should I process my data? So that is where the selection of the data center, the location of processing comes to the effect. This data center is built not only to attract local businesses, but it's a global class data center. The highest level of data availability and data center availability and efficiencies are addressed in this data center. With that, I would like to, so the edge computing is needed when you need to process high volume of data. So in our data center, it's more like a metro data center. So it's much more closer to the edge. So Sri Lankan businesses can use this metro data center to process various applications if they are thinking.
When we started the data center, what we wanted to do was make it a lot more user-friendly for SMEs, right? So typically data centers, at least before OrionStellar came, you had to start with, it wasn't very easy for a startup, etc., to kind of approach and kind of start their cloud applications, etc. And what we want to do with OrionStellar and do a better job at, which is kind of the start of this series, and what we're trying to do, is work a lot with startups, and trying to understand what their needs are. Say the power usage as well is built as you use, right? So what does that mean? If you consume more power, you will pay for that, right? If you don't consume, you don't pay, right? There's no other kind of data center in operation in Sri Lanka today that does this today. Being able to pay for it in rupees is a big relief as well, right? And it doesn't cost a lot to kind of start up. Give you kind of a pay-as-you-use model to increase your pipe to the data center. So we work, for example, with Dialog, with SLT, etc., on what's called SD-WAN, right? Which is software-defined wide area networks.
So just to add what Keval said, a typical startup or business, a tech company would not have a lot of IT staff, right? So they may not have a place to have their servers, but they have a specific application that they may think that it's good to run data or processing in a local data center. So first thing they will need is a computing or machine. So that machine nowadays the dollars. So you're buying a machine is a challenge. So we at OrionStellar, we have a bundle package that we include the machine, and we include the hosting, the U, which has the capability to measure the power to that particular server level. Technically, our vision is that somebody can order this service online by click of a button, and they will specify what kind of a computing they need. And then we will install that machine in our data center and provide the connectivity to what you need. And we can enable, give the access to you, and you can upload your data and start working. So that is what the vision even is setting for startups community in our data center. There is a power density measurement in any data center. So our data center can power up to 15 kilowatt per rack. So that is what the right now in Sri Lanka is 3 kilowatt per rack. But with these new applications coming in, we have the capability to run up to 15 kilowatt per rack. So that is something that I would like to highlight. Jeevan wants specifically to bring this to the SMEs and the startups because that is designed for that purpose.
I think we're just starting to enter into the data center game, and we'll slowly climb up the value chain in terms of digitizing those assets, right? I think for the startups, it will depend on the use case, right? So we need to understand what kind of applications they want to run and what kind of infrastructure. Then from that, we'll understand what kind of infrastructure or what kind of VM that they need to to run, and then based on that, we can decide what is the hardware, physical hardware, etc., that we can provide to kind of get that going for them. So it really depends on their application, like, and what the hardware requirements of that application, like how much RAM, how much processing, like what is that VM requirement, what is that virtual machine.